So hello everyone, today is 6th of May 2021. We have etcd community meeting and first on agenda is Vivek.
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Vivek. I just want to present to you guys what we've come up with so far. It's regarding the namespace quota design, and just wanted to give you guys a brief idea on what this is about, why we want to do this, and how is it going to benefit etcd. So, Peter, would you mind opening the document itself? Okay, so just to give you a brief idea of what we've done, why do we need this? So the why question is, etcd storage has a shared backend. Like every customer for etcd that uses etcd shares the same storage space. So there's no isolation for each user. So maybe Kubernetes is one of the users, and then we have other users as well. So sometimes Kubernetes takes the lion's share of the storage itself. And it can be a problem sometimes where some customers are starving while Kubernetes is taking up a lot of space. So this is just to get like more storage isolation for each user. Maybe you can say like, oh, Kubernetes gets like 6 gigs of it and the other customers too, but then the two are promised at least for those users, so they don't have to worry about their storage depending on how Kubernetes usage is. So that's just one example of like storage isolation. Maybe there are other different use cases. Now, how do we do this? It's kind of outlined in the like the whole document is about like mostly how and why. Just to give you a brief idea, like we've introduced a separate kind of framework within etcd itself called the namespace quota, and it does all the operations regarding creating, deleting, updating, and kind of getting quotas and stuff. It also affects a few core etcd operations like put. So when you're trying to put something and if you run out of your storage quota, then you kind of get an error accordingly. And it's kind of incorporated that way so that latency for an operation is not like kind of very highly affected. The impact is pretty low. We've kind of tried to keep the footprint very small and kind of in its own way. It's not affecting a whole lot. So all these operations are performed on, I mean, not all of the operations, but some operations are performed inline, while some operations are kind of asynchronous and don't need to be affecting core etcd functionality and stuff. So just this is just a technical talk outlining everything we've kind of researched, done, and come up with the idea of how do we want to do this so far. So yeah, just whenever you guys have like a few like minutes or whatever, just go through the doc and kind of give your feedback on if this sounds good to you, and then we can go ahead and kind of start like implementation and then take it forward. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Hey, this is Sam. Can you hear me?
Yep, excellent.
Yeah. So what I'd like to, I just would like to kind of high level. I haven't had a chance to really go through this in depth, but I want to understand. So you have different users, right? More or less. So you're saying you could have Kubernetes as one. You could have, you know, whatever client as another. How are you differentiating those clients, right, from like an RBAC perspective? Like how is that?
So each user sort of has their own namespace. So a key, a parent key or a prefixed key is what they have as their ownership, and then everything within that is kind of controlled by them. So you just give a set of credentials like, hey, for this key, this is the ID and this is the password and these are the rules available. Multiple users you can assign multiple users, just how etcd allows you to do this. But that's kind of the idea, that you have a prefixed key for yourself, and then the limit is set on that prefixed key. And then there are two types of quotas where you can have like a number of key limitation. Oh, you know, you have like a big key that's okay, but we're going to limit you to 100 keys, or there's a byte limitation. So you have these byte counts. Maybe you have like 2 gigs. Anything below 2 gigs is acceptable. Like you maybe have 1,000 or 100 keys. I don't really care how you store it within the prefixed key itself.
Sure, but just so I understand, this would be based on using etcd's authentication, so it's internal RBAC?
Yes.
Okay.
So I've left out the details of the RBAC from the documentation because that's already available for etcd within etcd. Just kind of focused on how do you go about doing this just from a namespace quota perspective.
Sure, because I just, and I don't want to take too much time here. I just want to, because today the Cube API server has no understanding of etcd RBAC, right? It has, so there would have to be, some upstream changes in order for that to be adopted. So, these are just things to consider.
Yep. Yeah, that's for sure. Like, I mean, we have to like let the Kubernetes community know that, hey, this is kind of what we're planning to do, and then how can we make this easier for everyone, and then go about it. But I feel like etcd by itself is a standalone app, which will have its own like things that we want to do because it's a shared infrastructure, right? So we want to give every customer what they need and what they want. And etcd turns out to be one of them, and it's a pretty big one for sure. But yeah.
So do we assume a model that multiple API servers talk to single etcd instance? So this form of multi-tenancy for protection, or rather situation that end users of API servers are identified at the level of etcd?
Sorry, maybe could you please repeat the question? Sorry, I didn't get it.
So like there are potentially 2 levels of protections. One is protection between different users of API server, concurrently using API server, users and resource types within them. And for some Kubernetes application, we want to potentially limit number of pods across different namespaces, while for other applications, we want to limit number of objects in particular namespace.
Got it.
So this potentially gives us limitation schemas that are not necessarily prefixes of the keys.
That's true. But so the thing is, like within the Kubernetes namespace, like etcd does not know what Kubernetes does within its namespace, right? So it can do whatever it was doing before, and there wouldn't be any change for the Kubernetes namespace. But if Kubernetes wants to decide, like within the Kubernetes namespace, like say if there are like 5 namespaces in the sense of Kubernetes, they can limit them as well at each layer if they want. But it can just be nothing, and Kubernetes can just operate how it used to be before without having any sort of limitations. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Is there a like buy-in from Kubernetes scalability SIG or one of the SIGs for implementing such upstream support, or need from them?
There will be in some sense where because I mean they still have to understand what a namespace is from the Kubernetes aspect, what an etcd namespace is. So there will be like at least a few changes coming from the Kubernetes end as well from the API server itself. But it doesn't have to be necessary. Like they can not use this feature, and nothing comes as like a different thing.
But I think what Piotr is asking is, have you started a KEP or anything as far as for gaining this support yet?
I know. haven't started the conversation. I just want to get a feel of what the etcd community feels about this first.
Sure. You may just want to, because I don't want to sound negative, but there are a lot of opinions on the APA server side. So I think that you would want to start this conversation early with them as well.
Okay. Will do. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like, I think my feeling was that if first I just want to see if the etcd community is open to such a thing in the first place. And if they are, then okay, while I'm kind of like going about like, okay, we need to figure the design to like a rock solid, and then while parallelly talking to the community, Kubernetes community as well. But I just want to get a feel of the etcd community in the first place. So yeah, but I get your point.
So, I had suggestion in the doc about potential alternative to this based on giving some form of counters as part of the etcd API, such that similar use cases, but not only limited to quotas, can be addressed by having an atomic operation of decreasing value for given keys by n, or checking in transaction whether the value will not fall below 0. So with such two atomic operations, any client can potentially embed in their transactions additional checks whether some numeric condition is fulfilled without requiring like to round up process. To get the value, check on the client side whether it's big enough and potentially subtract. So pay high latency cost.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I still haven't like gone through like everything or the all the possibilities, but yeah, I did read that, and yeah, we've definitely thought about it. So yeah.
Nate?
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to jump in and give everybody a website update and introduce Patrice Challen. He's one of the technical writers over at the CNCF and has been working quite closely with me on the documentation overhaul. Most recently, he's worked on the grpc.io website update. So he's been incredibly helpful on this project. So the first update is the Doxy conversion has been completed for an MVP, which is to say we have a new look and feel. So if you go over to etcd.io, it looks a little bit different. And if you're going through it and finding things that don't look quite right, we're happy for issue reports to come up and help us to sort of see what else we need to clean up if we have missed something. We have a couple of we have a follow-up overview issue that we're listing everything that we know that we need to do still, as well as we've set some milestones in the repo to help keep us honest, as it were. So we've got some times and dates for things to be completed. Since that MVP has been done, we're now moving on to the information architecture update. And again, we've opened up an issue to be sort of a tracker issue for that work. And we're basing this new information architecture on Josh Grpc's original issue 65, which was the docs overhaul issue that he initially brought up, as well as the couple of mind maps that I'd opened up a couple of weeks ago for comment. So based on some of the feedback we've gotten on that, we are working through and are looking at how we can reorganize and create new pages to help bring out to help make the documentation better overall. So this is a continuing effort. So Patrice, did you want to take the next issue or two here?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Patrice from Quebec, out east. I don't know where. Well, it's nice to meet all of you. I suspect you're spattered a bit around the world. Piotr, could you open up the etcd.io and go to the documents folder? So there's one issue that we've opened, which is a proposal to so as you all probably know, the documentation is versioned. Piotr, if you could click on the versions in the left nav, 3.5 draft. So as of a recent change, the title of this section no longer says next docs, it says 3.5 draft docs. But if you look at the permalink, it's still next. So it's /docs/next. The proposal is issue 52 is to eliminate next as a permalink path name and to simply use the version name. So it will be 3.5, and if 3.5 hasn't been released yet, well, it would say, as it does in the title here, 3.5 draft. If ever there are docs for 4.0 coming out that are also in draft, then the permalink would be /docs/v4.0, etc. So next would stay as a virtual link, so it would still redirect, but it would not exist as a link within the website structure. So that's the basic idea. If you have any feedback on that you'd like to give me now, that would be appreciated. If not, if you go to the issue 252 and add some comments there, that would be great. Thanks. And nice to meet all of you.
I just want to say thanks a lot, guys, for this. The docs look beautiful. The site's great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Just waiting if anybody does have any comments on that right this moment. I'm not hearing anything, so I'm going to move on real quick. We've also gone through and done some work to reduce the number of broken links, both internal and external, throughout the site. And that has been merged in now, but there's still, I'd say, a handful, maybe 5 to 10 links that I'm not sure where they should link, and there could be some copy updates that need to be made. So if anyone's got some time, I'd greatly appreciate another set of eyes on this particular issue, just because I'm not entirely sure where to link these remaining broken links. So that would be appreciated there. And then lastly, I'm not sure if this is the right forum for this, but as Patrice has been working quite closely with me and has put in quite a few PRs and issues, I'm not sure what the process for asking for write access to the repo is for him. So if I could, I don't know if I would open an issue for that, or if that's something, a request that we would make to the maintainer's email list, or what the process is there. But I'd be curious for some clarification there. So I'm not hearing a lot there, so I'll pass it back to Piotr, and I'll open up I suppose an email or whatnot to the maintainers list. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Yes, I think email to maintainers list would be the best fit. I don't think we had separate process for the website that's split from the main repository. and this makes this situation a little bit unusual. But yeah, but I think the decision will be made on the maintainers list.
Okay, thank you, Piotr.
Thank you. So Wilson.
Okay. Hi, guys. This is Wilson, and today I'm coming here with my colleague Justin, and we're from ByteDance. So today we want to discuss a little bit about the hardware accelerations that we were trying to do in our engineer team, and also like want to hear some of the ideas from you guys. So the first thing is that we want to use the RDMA to accelerate the HCD, like the performance. And what one of our engineer did actually, he replaced the transport layer in the HTTP and using the RDMA to send the traffic. And the RDMA library is actually, it is written in, I think it's written in C and C++. And in order to communicate with the RDMA library, we actually have to use the CGO to call the C functions from Go. And what we observe actually is the CGO give a lot of overhead. So we saw that with very large, like the message size, for example, like 4K, more than 4K size message, we saw around like the maximum performance like 4% gain. But for other small packet cases, we saw like 10 to 7 to 10 like the penalty, like the performance penalty. So we believe that this is more like we did some performance like evaluation. We saw that in the CGO actually itself like has a lot of overhead. And so finally, after some discussion with our internal the networking team, we saw that we might later in order to use the RDMA to do the hardware acceleration, we might have to do something using some assembly code in Go, so that we can call directly like the C libraries from Go. Then like we but here today we want to discuss a little bit like anyone like doing something related to the RDMA hardware acceleration here, or someone have some idea about like how we use the RDMA to do the hardware acceleration in XD. Well, there's after with all these tests, we saw that the RDMA hardware acceleration might be we might get more benefit from it from the case where we for example, like when the follower first like join the cluster, then it needs to catch up. We need to send the snapshot to the forward, and this might be a good case for the RDMA hardware acceleration to send a large chunk of data to in this case, so we can use take advantage of RDMA and avoid the heartbeat miss. But yeah, now here just want to hear you guys, do you have any other like ideas on this?
So this is about replacing the Raft HTTP library that it's doing peer-to-peer communication, right?
So far it is something like this, but what we did is just replace the transport layer with the RDMA hardware like acceleration, but we didn't do anything in other parts.
Okay, and because like one of the bottlenecks about the peer-to-peer transport is that it's poorly HTTP based currently. So there are overheads related to limitation of HTTP. I'm not sure to what degree we use the keep alive connections. So whether we know that replacing this with something more standard, like Grpc that we use for other applications, would give similar benefits, or like in order of the few percents you mentioned.
Yes. So far from our observation, it seems like in the normal cases, like using RDMA, like doesn't give us a lot of benefit unless we can, do some further investigation and see if RDMA can be good in some corner cases. For example, like the follower, like trying to catch up with like receiving some of the large snapshots.
Because I also like don't know all the architectural details, but in general assume that the DMA or RD, maybe I don't know what's the R really stands here, but that natural usage of operating system is to like copy memory between process and network interface using DMA. So the acceleration or sharing memory really happens underneath. So I assume remote DMA is some protocol that works similarly, but across network interfaces.
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, but this is like we use the DMA to copy the data to the interface, like using the interface to copy the data from one host to another. Yeah, but okay. And let me see. Okay, so this is okay. This is our RDMA part. So later, if you guys have any like any link, if you're interested in this, then we can discuss about this. But okay, let me talk about the second part regarding the persistent memory. So we actually also try to accelerate the activity using persistent memory, and we actually also observe that I think the persistent memory, like the benefit of persistent memory can give us is also limited on using the current, like using the current activity, because it seems like when we actually doing the persistent operations, it's actually called from the activity backend, like the run the run loop, and every I think by default 100 millisecond, and it seems like using persistent memory to replace a part, and instead of using like the BODB to write to disk, we actually using modify the BODB to write to persistent memory. We also see that the improvement that we can get is very limited. So it seems like so far the activity performance, the bottleneck is not actually not the if you're using NVMe disk or using or something similar, I mean the bottleneck is not actually at the disk layer. Yeah, that's what we also observe. So I just want to hear any of you guys also try something similar.
So, when you were playing with the persistent memory, have you tried using different block sizes? Because the bolt operations are currently hard-coded or by default using the 4 kilobytes pages that for many storage solutions might be not the best match.
Okay. let me see.
Limiting throughput and IO ops. So because this was tuned mostly to the really RAM access, not the disk access.
Yeah, actually, I discussed with the engineer that, who was working on this. Actually, what I remember he gave me some feedback on this before, and he said that the actually the fork. Yeah, I think there was some interesting data like he got at the 4K block size. So, but I don't have the data right now. Yeah, I will go back and think we talk with him regarding this part. But I do remember that he told me something about like for like when he's trying the size with like 4K size. I think he saw some difference. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Good job. Yeah, that's the from my side. So later probably I will just raise some like issue in the and later see if someone like else interested in this. Okay, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
have a question for you. Well, I'm Vivek's colleague. For RDMA, are you using the InfiniBand mix, or is that the C++ library that you mentioned?
Actually, the C the library that we are using actually is internal tool. I think it's internal like the library developed by our engineer. But regarding this, I think I will go back and talk with them and get a little bit more information on this and like the details and how they are doing this. So, but so far we just want to give some initial discussion about this, but. Just in case anyone have some previous experience on this before, but yeah, we'll I think read some issue in the community and see if people if people needs more information, then we can give more on this topic.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious what's the setup, but yeah, we don't have I don't have experience with this, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but that's good. Yes, I think that's like a good question, and we'll go back and get more, and then like we'll discuss this. By the way, Jiaxin, do you have any add-on to this?
No, I think it covers everything. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, Wilson, and thank you for the recent performance improvement. That looks very promising.
Thank you.
Okay. So thanks to higher activity in our repository, that's good thing to have. We recently started to observe pretty significant latencies for getting tests done and feedback from continuous integration. So I reached to CNCF asking whether they can provide us sponsorship or more Travis worker to solve this problem. And the response I got and shared with the maintenance list was that they are recommending switching to GitHub Actions. And on GitHub Actions can like provide us a pool of 50 workers instead of 5 that we can currently on Travis. So wanted to collect feedback whether there are any concerns with migrating our continuous integration, and also say and thank Marek for implementing actually a PR that does this transition.
Yeah, I think for us, like a GitHub action should work, right? Because we run everything inside containers. So we also have some other plans to add self-hosted GitHub action workers for each provider. So I think it's the right step in the direction. So I think that's a good idea. We can just migrate to the GitHub action.
Okay, Thank you. So next topic, like as we are approaching 3.5 release, one of the goals I tried to meet internally is to limit exposure or to V2 code. And there is a bunch of PRs or already committed or one or two in flight. And like from the comments and issues, it was not clear whether we have agreement or roadmap to what degree we would like to deprecate V2 store. So options to potentially consider top level ones is to deprecate or decommission V2 store gradually to not break users, but as part of the V3 releases. And there is a roadmap that proposes how to get this done in etcd 3.7. That's far in the future, but assuming we will start with some changes in 3.5. The other option is, and in this assumption, just V2 store alone, it means that the API user can opt in for the V2 API, but in this case, V2 APIs would be backed by V3 store using V2 to V3 compatibility layer. We might also deprecate both V2 store and API to make the remove the biggest amount of unmaintained or legacy code and drive users towards a simple API to maintain. And the third approach is to do nothing in V3, live with it, and potentially make a breaking change in V4 that also potentially would raise question to what degree we want to make no migration from V2 to V4. So wanted to collect feedback, opinions on this aspect.
So Peter, so is there any like a forum we can maybe start a thread, maybe around Kubernetes community to see if anybody still relies on V2 API? Because as far as I know, Kubernetes already relies on only V3, right?
Yes, even Kubernetes removed the migrator support from V2 to V3 since Kubernetes 1.19 or 1.20. There is no more mention of V2 or like auto upgrade to V2 from V2 to V3. So I don't think Kubernetes as a user would be here a concern.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I think we can still keep the V2 like a storage, but we already turned off in the 3.4, right? So I don't think anybody would have an objection, and then we haven't got any issues with turning off V2 API by default during the 3.4 like release cycle. So I think it should be safe.
Like turning off or decommissioning. Be currently sorry about this. So we would remove the so turning off, I assume, is switching off the flag, or by turning off we mean decommissioning actual code 3.7.
Oh yeah. I think for 3.7, I think we can remove all the code.
It makes sense to me as well.
Yeah, maybe like, can we create a GitHub issue so that we can get more visibility and maybe get more feedback? But overall, I think that's a good plan.
So the issues already exist and are linked. Like, I think this one is the decommissioning plan.
Okay,
That I'm looking for feedback. So this would mean that we probably don't also promote enable V2, V3 from experimental, because the V2 would not exist at all.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Yeah. You are right.
Okay. So please comment on this issue about the plan, and I will try to proceed with PRs that make it possible, like the aspect that we should done in 3.5 to be on the path to make it happen in 3.7. Okay, last topic from me. On the last meeting, we decided like plans to release 3.5 in 2 weeks from now, like, or at least close the feature changes and start stabilization period. So potentially release beta and collect feedbacks whether we have any bugs and try to just fix the bugs. So wanted to check whether we are still on the path to do this, or we want, and potentially how we spread the work that needs to happen.
So for my side, I think 2 weeks is reasonable. But I think I think you have some pending PR for the log rotation. So you wanna get that in for 3.5?
I'm going to try. Cheong had some input. Piotr has also given some input, so I'm going to push for that. Yeah, so I'm not going to make special circumstances for myself. So if I can get it merged by that time, then I would like to include that. Yes.
Anybody else like has a pending PR? I know Lily has a open telemetry PR, but we can discuss that as well. So the date we proposed was the mid-May, right, Peter?
Yes. So in some places it was 15, in other I think it was 17 to make it Monday in like 2 weeks from now.
And then yep, go ahead.
Should we settle on one?
Sorry?
Do you want to settle on either or? How about the 17th?
Really? 17, yes.
Thank you.
As freeze date. Yeah, and I assume it will be point when we will release some form of beta or RC version. Anyone who wants to take care of the beta release? Or is willing to take care of the release?
Red Hat team would be interested in taking that.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, Sam can take the ownership for the release.
Okay. So, Guohao?
Yeah, so I have a draft posted there, like a link. Please comment. Like a lot of features like are still missing, because we done a lot of things for the last 2 years. But I did some initial a draft and then call out some major performance improvement and then new features. So yeah, please comment. So because I must be missing a lot of things in the post. So if you want anything to be called out here, please comment and then we can just keep adding there.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it for me. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you for writing this. Lily?
Yeah. So I opened a PR, was it yesterday? For adding the open telemetry tracing under the experimental flags. And I think the main question that's sort of unresolved is first, whether we want to include it in 3.5. I guess, and the second one is, do we want to bump the gRPC version? Otherwise, I need to rework some things around that.
So in branch 3.5, I think we are running gRPC 136.1, and it was the newest one as of 3 weeks ago. So
okay.
I don't think there are any blockers currently to bump it in even further, but they are doing a good progress with having more and more major releases.
Nice, perfect then. So I think then that comment is resolved, and the other one is whether we want to include it in 3.5. And I think I have a couple of questions on the PR, mainly around, can we merge additional flags in 3.5 patch releases if we want some, or additional spans that we want to add for tracing?
So I can only comment on the tracing feature. I think we can get that into 3.5 because it's experimental, and then the code change is pretty small. So I don't think it's gonna add a lot of maintainer burden for us, right?
Yeah.
But,
and
yeah,
sounds good. And the other one was whether we want to continue, this is just the basic gRPC tracing. So in the future, we want to add specific code-based spans that we want to create manually. Can we add those in patch releases, or should we wait for the next major release for those to be added?
I think we are fine as long as there's somebody maintaining it. So.
Okay, got it. Cool.
Since it's,
nice.
Yep.
And the version for the gRPC here was 137 that I bumped to. So that's good. Okay, perfect. That answers all my questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Lily.
Thank you. And I think this gRPC version bump is also what drives the Kubernetes interests, being interested in depending on 3.5 as soon as possible. So in the release 122. Okay. Any more topics?
Oh, Peter, I have one question. You mentioned there's an upcoming gRPC release. Is that something we want to wait for? Can you explain that again?
I think Lily mentioned that for the open telemetry, she needs to bump the release, and the gRPC 137 is already released. We just need to take dependency on them.
Also, there's no breaking changes, so we're gonna bump up, right, for the 3.5, right? The gRPC?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and see you on GitHub or next month.
See you, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.